Oh, sure, you thought I was going to miss you today, eh? Nope. This is your buddy Carl with a daily Bible reading. It is March 12th, and we're going to dive right in. So, March 12th, bless you all for hanging in there. Sometimes I've read these in the morning or afternoon. Seems likely my free time is in the evening. So, anyway, happy March 12th. And here we go. We're in Numbers chapter 16. We're going to pick it up at verse 41 where we left off. And we're going to read all the way through 18, all the way through the rest of chapter 18 too. So 16:41. Here we go. So we've read this now, the Israelites, they're out there with Moses in the desert. They're just rebelling. They're whining and complaining, and God gets mad at them. And I know we read this and go, this is ridiculous. How can they be so foolish? They see the power of God, and yet they fall away or they forget God's faithfulness. Anyway, so Korah and his band of grumblers against Aaron and Moses are all burned up. That's it. God wipes them out. But Moses and Aaron are able to spare the rest of the Israelites. Okay, we're going to move on. We're picking up here at verse 41. So there you go. 250 of the followers of Korah had died, perished, because the Lord wiped them out for their complaining or speaking against Moses and Aaron. Verse 41 of number 16. Here we go. But the very next morning, the whole community of Israel, wow, can't believe I'm reading this. But the very next morning, the whole community of Israel began muttering against Moses and Aaron, saying, "You have killed the Lord's people." Well, now they don't even recognize it as God's judgment. Now they're complaining still. Wow. As the community gathered to protest against Moses and Aaron, they turned toward the tabernacle and saw that the cloud had covered it, and the glorious presence of the Lord appeared. So there you go. Moses and Aaron came and stood in front of the tabernacle, and the Lord said to Moses, "Get away from all these people so that I can instantly destroy them." Now, God is God. He could have easily wiped out the whole bunch. But look here. But Moses and Aaron fell face down on the ground. Wow. And Moses said to Aaron, "Quick, take an incense burner and place burning coals on it from the altar. Lay incense on it and carry it out among the people to purify them and make them right with the Lord. The Lord's anger is blazing against them. The plague has already begun." Aaron did as Moses told him and ran out among the people. The plague had already begun to strike down the people, but Aaron burned the incense and purified the people. He stood between the dead and the living, and the plague stopped. Imagine this picture. But 14,700 people died in that plague, in addition to those who had died in the affair involving Korah. Wow. Then because the plague had stopped, Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance of the tabernacle. Chapter 17 of Numbers. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the people of Israel to bring 12 wooden staffs, one from each leader of Israel's ancestral tribes, and inscribe each leader's name on the staff. Inscribe Aaron's name on the staff of the tribe of Levi." These are the priests, right, that work in the temple. "For there must be one staff for the leader of each ancestral tribe. Place these staffs in the tabernacle in front of the ark containing the tablets of the covenant where I meet with you. Buds will sprout on the staff belonging to the man I choose. Then I will finally put an end to the people's murmuring and complaining against you." So Moses gave the instructions to the people of Israel and each of the 12 tribal leaders, including Aaron, and they brought Moses a staff. Moses placed the staffs in the Lord's presence in the tabernacle of the covenant. When he went into the tabernacle of the covenant the next day, he found that Aaron's staff, representing the tribe of Levi, had sprouted, budded, blossomed, and produced ripe almonds. There you go. Aaron's staff, the priestly staff, the staff of the leader of the tribe of the Levites, who were the ministers and the priest in the temple, in the tabernacle at this time anyway. There you go. Verse 9, when Moses brought all the staves out from the Lord's presence, he showed them to the people. Each man claimed his own staff, and the Lord said to Moses, place Aaron's staff permanently before the ark of the covenant to serve as a warning to rebels. This should put an end to their complaints against me and prevent any further deaths. So Moses did as the Lord had commanded him. Then the people of Israel said to Moses, look, we are doomed. We are dead. We are ruined. Everyone who even comes close to the tabernacle of the Lord dies. Are we all doomed to die? People of Israel, no, you're not all doomed to die. Don't be fools. Don't be rebelling against what God says. Follow Moses and Aaron. I know we look at this and go, what don't they get? But obviously, we're not seeing the longer periods of time, the culture, the wearing down of the people. Remember now, they're being sent back out to the desert because of earlier rebellion, and they're going to die off before the younger generation. That's what's happening here. So people lose their focus. And so that's human nature. We lose our focus on the Lord. The things of the world distract us. We forget the goodness of God, or we forget that we even know God, and we question everything about God. That's the shadow of the Israelites' journey here. Okay, let's move on to chapter 18, and we will do the whole chapter of 18. Then the Lord said to Aaron, you, your sons, and your relatives from the tribe of Levi will be held responsible for any offenses related to the sanctuary, but you and your sons alone will be held responsible for violations connected with the priesthood. Bring your relatives of the tribe of Levi, your ancestral tribe, to assist you and your sons as you perform the sacred duties in front of the tabernacle of the covenant. But as the Levites go about all their assigned duties at the tabernacle, they must be careful not to go near any of the sacred objects or the altar. If they do, both you and they will die. The Levites must join you in fulfilling their responsibilities for the care and maintenance of the tabernacle, but no unauthorized person may assist you. You yourselves must perform the sacred duties inside the sanctuary and at the altar. If you follow these instructions, the Lord's anger will never again blaze against the people of Israel. I myself have chosen your fellow Levites from among the Israelites to be your special assistants. They are a gift to you, dedicated to the Lord for service in the tabernacle. But you and your sons, the priest, must personally handle all the priestly rituals associated with the altar and with everything behind the inner curtain. I am giving you the priesthood as your special privilege of service. Any unauthorized person who comes too near the sanctuary will be put to death. The Lord gave these further instructions to Aaron. I myself have put you in charge of all the holy offerings that are brought to me by the people of Israel. I have given all these consecrated offerings to you and your sons as your permanent share. You are allotted the portion of the most holy offerings that is not burned on the fire. This portion of all the most holy offerings, including the grain offerings, sin offerings, and guilt offerings, will be most holy, and it belongs to you and your sons. You must eat it as a most holy offering. All the males may eat of it, and you must treat it as most holy. All the sacred offerings and special offerings presented to me when the Israelites lift them up before the altar also belong to you. I have given them to you and to your sons and daughters as your permanent share. Any member of your family who is ceremonially clean may eat of these offerings. I also give you the harvest gifts brought by the people as offerings to the Lord, the best of the olive oil, new wine and grain, all the first crops of their land, and the people present to the Lord belong to you. So all the first crops of the land that the people present to the Lord belong to you. I want to get the inflection right here. Any member of your family who is ceremonially clean may eat this food. Everything in Israel that is specially set apart for the Lord also belongs to you. The firstborn of every mother, whether human or animal, that is offered to the Lord will be yours. But you must always redeem your firstborn sons and the firstborn of ceremonially unclean animals. Redeem them when they are 1 month old. The redemption price is 5 pieces of silver as measured by the weight of the sanctuary shekel, which equals 20 gerahs. Now, we've seen this throughout the law here, right, folks? Always the weights of the sanctuary shekels determine the value of bartering or pay, right? And it equals 20 gerahs, and I won't go into the details of that. Okay. However, verse 17, however, you may not redeem the firstborn cattle, sheep, or goats. They are holy and have been set apart for the Lord. Sprinkle their blood on the altar and burn their fat as a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The meat of these animals will be yours, just like the breast and right thigh that are presented by lifting them up as a special offering before the altar. Yes, I am giving you all these holy offerings that the people of Israel bring to the Lord. They are for you and your sons and daughters to be eaten as your permanent share. This is an eternal and unbreakable covenant between the Lord and you, and it also applies to your descendants. And the Lord said to Aaron, you priest will receive no allotment of land or share of property among the people of Israel. I am your share and your allotment. So there you go. This is very significant. The Levites didn't get an allotment of land or a share of property. The Lord was declaring that he was their share in the allotment. In other words, the presence of the Lord, their work for the Lord, their dedication to the Lord was their habitation, a place where they could dwell. They were dwelling in the tabernacle, so that they didn't have other lands. Verse 21. As for the tribe of Levi, your relatives, I will compensate them for their service in the tabernacle. Instead of an allotment of land, I will give them the tithes from the entire land of Israel. How about that? So the Levite, the whole Levitical tribe, got tithes from the entire land of Israel. That's how they survived, because they were still servants to the tabernacle, right? Verse 22. From now on, no Israelites except priests or Levites may approach the tabernacle. If they come too near, they will be judged guilty and will die. Only the Levites may serve at the tabernacle, and they will be held responsible for any offenses against it. This is a permanent law for you to be observed from generation to generation. The Levites will receive no allotment of land among the Israelites, because I have given them the Israelites' tithes, which have been presented as sacred offerings to the Lord. This will be the Levites' share. That is why I said they would receive no allotment of land among the Israelites. The Lord also told Moses, give these instructions to the Levites. When you receive from the people of Israel the tithes I have assigned as your allotment, give a tenth of the tithes you receive, a tithe of a tithe, to the Lord as a sacred offering. Super important there, folks. So give these instructions to the Levites. So even though they're the priest and the servants for the tabernacle, and they're receiving a tithe from the other tribes, they are also to give a tenth of that to the Lord. So, that applies well to today. Ministers that are given offerings and tithes in their congregations and get salaries, and they don't get, most people make offerings probably. I'm not sure everybody understands to give a tithe, which is, It's no longer a required law. It's a principle of giving. It's a good marker to go by, to give a tenth of your income. But it's not a law. It doesn't come with a curse anymore. Jesus redeemed us from the curse, and we don't go to a temple anymore. But many people make offerings and tithes to their churches to take care of the work of the church. But a minister or a priest or anybody else should still also pay their own tithes and offerings to the Lord. So I think that still applies today. In other words, it's a principle to live by, of faith in our time. Okay, so the tithe of a tithe to the Lord as a sacred offering. And that's the way you always want to give, as unto the Lord. Verse 27, the Lord will consider this offering to be your harvest offering, as though it were the first grain from your own threshing floor, or wine from your own winepress. You must present 1/10 of the tithe received from the Israelites as a sacred offering to the Lord. This is the Lord's sacred portion, and you must present it to Aaron the priest. Be sure to give to the Lord the best portions of the gifts given to you. Ooh, that's strong. Be sure to give to the Lord the best portions of the gifts given to you. Powerful. Verse 30. Also give these instructions to the Levites. When you present the best part as your offering, it will be considered as though it came from your own threshing floor or winepress. You Levites and your families may eat this food anywhere you wish, for it is your compensation for serving in the tabernacle. You will not be considered guilty for accepting the Lord's tithes if you give the best portion to the priest. But be careful not to treat the holy gifts of the people of Israel as though they were common. If you do, you will die. Wow. Another strong judgment of the Lord. To observe the law with all intensity and to the fullness of the law. And they were in a time where they paid with their lives. Wow, Lord. Okay, we're moving on. That was the Old Testament reading for today. We're moving to Psalm 53, verse 1 through 6. Oh, I'm sorry. Psalm 55, 1 through 23. There we go. Verse 1, the whole psalm, actually. Here we go. So the theme of this one is expressing deep dismay over the treachery of close friends. Man, that still happens today too, doesn't it? When friends hurt us, the burden is too difficult to carry alone. I mean, what a grief to have dear friends hurt us, but it happens all the time. May it not happen to you. But we have to be able to brace ourselves and navigate life when unexpected pain happens. And David did write this one. For the choir director, a psalm of David to be accompanied by stringed instruments, probably sung. Listen to my prayer, O God. Do not ignore my cry for help. Please listen and answer me, for I am overwhelmed by my troubles. My enemies shout at me, making loud and wicked threats. They bring trouble on me and angrily hunt me down. My heart pounds in my chest. The terror of death assaults me. Fear and trembling overwhelm me, and I can't stop shaking. Oh, that I had wings like a dove. Then I would fly away and rest. I would fly far away to the quiet of the wilderness. Now, here in this psalm, there's actually a thing that says Selah, or an interlude, and that always means, to pause, to meditate, to ponder what you just read. And there are many times when I have more time and I'm not reading like this for the public, I would wait and think, wow, Lord, that piece right there speaks of, the psalmist's passion or their plight at that time that they're living in. Very important. Verse 8, how quickly would I escape far from this wild storm of hatred? Confuse them, Lord, and frustrate their plans, for I see violence and conflict in the city. Its walls are patrolled day and night against invaders, but the real danger is wickedness within the city. Ooh, that speaks volumes about populations, cities, towns, states, countries. It's not about guards being being around and guarding as much as what wickedness is going on in the inside. That's our biggest concern. I'm going to read on. Verse 11, everything's falling apart. Threats and cheating are rampant in the streets. It is not an enemy who taunts me. I could bear that. It is not my foes who so arrogantly insult me. I could have hidden from them. Instead, it is you, my equal, my companion, and close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together to the house of God. Let death stalk my enemies. Let the grave swallow them alive, for evil makes its home within them. But I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. I have to, side note right there, that's always a major point in many of the Psalms, a yet or a but. You can see like the psalmist, the writer's always like, oh, Lord, help, help, help. And they're groaning and moaning. And you'll often see this, okay, but I'm going to do this. Like the writer is speaking to their soul to change their focus. That's so important. But I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them, for my enemies refuse to change their ways. They do not fear God. As for my companion, he betrayed his friends. He broke his promises. His words are as smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. Wow, so sad. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. May we have discernment to really know people's words. That's how I see that. Verse 22, give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. But you, O God, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Murderers and liars will die young. But I am trusting you to save me. Folks, that's the main theme. Now, in our time, does God just kill off murderers and liars? Not really, not in the age of grace. The psalmist is pouring out his heart. That's what he wants God to do. In that time, they're not seeing things through the lens of grace and mercy as much as we see it now in New Covenant. But the final line, but, here we go, a but or a yet, we speak to our soul to remind us who God is. But I am trusting you to save me. And that is always key, trusting the Lord for his covering. All right, we're moving on. Today's proverb is Proverbs 11:7. Not 7:11. This is Proverbs 11, just verse 7. When the wicked die, their hopes die with them, for they rely on their own feeble strength. May we not be foolish to just rely on our own strength. Help us, Lord. Okay, and the New Testament reading on March the 12th is Mark 16, 1 through 20. And this is the final chapter of the Gospel of Mark. We're going to do the whole thing. So here we go. Jesus rises from the dead. Man, this is key for everything, for those of us that follow Jesus. Saturday evening, when the Sabbath ended, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome, or Salome, went out and purchased burial spices so they could anoint Jesus' body. Very early on Sunday morning, just at sunrise, they went to the tomb, of course. On the way, they were asking each other, who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb? But as they arrived, they looked up and saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled aside. When they entered the tomb, they saw a young man clothed in a white robe sitting on the right side. The women were shocked, but the angel said, So from this writing, we recognize they're seeing an angel. Don't be alarmed. You're looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He isn't here. He is risen from the dead. Look, this is where they laid his body. Now go and tell his disciples, including Peter, that Jesus is going ahead of you to Galilee. You will see him there, just as he told you before he died. The women fled from the tomb, trembling and bewildered, and they said nothing to anyone because they were too frightened. Then they briefly reported all this to Peter and his companions, the disciples. And it could have been more, but we know it was Peter and the disciples. Afterward, Jesus himself sent them out from east to west with the sacred and unfailing message of salvation that gives eternal life. Amen. Now that last verse is called the short ending to Mark. It's interesting in this writing. This is the longer ending of Mark, and I'm not going to go into how they came up with finding this part of Mark or attaching it, but we're going to read on. Verse 9, after Jesus rose from the dead early on Sunday morning, the first person who saw him was Mary Magdalene, the woman from whom he had cast out 7 demons. She went to the disciples who were grieving and weeping and told them what had happened. But when she told them that Jesus was alive and she had seen him, they didn't believe her. Afterward, he appeared in a different form to 2 of his followers who were walking from Jerusalem into the country. They rushed back to tell the others, but no one believed them. Another form, I got to pause here. Jesus' resurrected body was probably a glorified body and could not be recognized. He might have looked even more, perfected human or a perfected body, and therefore living in the earth didn't affect him. And so he had his heavenly body as he resurrected, as we will when we rise from the dead who are in the Lord. Pretty awesome. Verse 14, still later he appeared to the 11 disciples as they were eating together. He rebuked them for their stubborn unbelief because they refused to believe those who had seen him after he had been raised from the dead. And then he told them, go into all the world and preach the good news to everyone. Anyone who believes and is baptized will be saved. Very key word there, folks. Jesus says right here in Mark 16, anyone who believes and is baptized will be saved. But anyone who refuses to believe will be condemned. These miraculous signs will accompany those who believe. They will cast out demons in my name, and they will speak in new languages. They will be able to handle snakes with safety, and if they drink anything poisonous, it won't hurt them. They will be able to place their hands on the sick, and they will be healed. When the Lord Jesus had finished talking with them, he was taken up into heaven and sat down in the place of honor at God's right hand. And the disciples went everywhere and preached, and the Lord worked through them, confirming what they said by many miraculous signs. So, folks, we're going to stop there. I even have notes there like I am actually wanting to ponder and kind of research what's with the short ending and the longer ending of Mark, and how does it fit in with the other gospels. So that's something to always do when you have a question like I do, and I've read this before, but I'm like, oh, I want to look at that again, and I will. But I won't do that here in the daily Bible reading. If I have any significant updates to that, I'll mention it in the next day. All right. Bless you all. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow for another daily Bible reading. Good night.